What's different about this Dream Drop distance footage? I'll give you guys a second to try and notice. Yeah, have you noticed? It's immensely satisfying, I do have to say. You might notice that, yes, in fact, the drop gauge is no longer. What's going on, guys? It's Cynical and welcome back to another video. Today for you guys, I want to talk about what is probably the most based Kingdom Hearts Dream Drop distance mod that currently exists. Unfortunately, there's not too many Dream Drop distance mods. As I've said in the past, creating mods for the older Kingdom Hearts games is a little bit of a harder process compared to Kingdom Hearts 3 due to the engine. But without a doubt, this is a mod that I know has been so highly requested. It's not like it just recently released or anything. This mod released back in August of last year and is created by IWT Explode, or better known as KHVids over on Twitter. This is a common complaint that you tend to find with Dream Drop Distance is the drop gauge mechanic. This mechanic that only allows you to play as the certain character that you're playing as, whether it be Sora or Riku, for a certain amount of time before switching out and playing as the other character. Now, of course, you can go at your own leisure with Dream Drop Distance, being able to play as the character you want when you want, but that still doesn't change the fact that you'll always have the drop mechanic and that you're always on a time limit. Of course, as I said, you can just drop back into the other character if you want. I recently did a complete playthrough with this mod on, and I have to say the experience of which was just so much more less stressful in comparison to playing Dream Drop Distance normally. I also remember around the time of 2.8 launching, people were asking and hoping for an option to actually turn the drop mechanic off so that you can just straight disable it and that the time limit thing isn't apparent whatsoever. Now, of course, the idea of Dream Drop Distance is based around the drop mechanic. Sora and Riku go to the realm of sleep in order to secure the sleeping worlds, and so they're only able to engage for a certain amount of time before they hit the snooze button to then drop into the shoes of the other character. It's kind of quite cool if you think about the concept, but when it's actually put into action in the game, it can be a little bit annoying sometimes. Specifically when looking towards boss fights, this is just absolutely the sheer reason as to why I just dislike the drop mechanic so much. Is that, let's say, you know, you're like extremely close to taking down a boss, you're one health bar off, and all of a sudden the sleeping pills kick in. You're then thrown into the other character. If you want, you can drop back into the shoes of the character you've dropped from, but oh, what's that? The health of the boss has been completely restored. Here we go again. I remember this vividly happening a lot on the Chill Clawbster in almost all of my playthroughs of Dream Drop Distance, and because of the fact that this is probably my most disliked boss for Sora's side in the entire game, Riku's version is also quite annoying, this was the most painful thing to experience with the drop gauge. There is an item in the game known as Drop Me Not, which allows you to extend the period of time of the drop gauge, which is nice. Yes, it is handy, but there's some issues with this. Number one, it takes up a command slot, so that's sort of annoying, and the only sheer purpose of this is, again, just extending the time of the drop gauge. I would rather have that slot filled with a magic or a nice spicy attack command. And two, this only works for about 3 to 4 uses before the game just throws you into exhaustion and forces you into sleep paralysis. So I have to say, the experience of playing the game yet again with no drop gauge was one of the most stress-free experiences of Dream Drop Distance I think I've ever had. It's nothing game-changing or anything like that, it's just the sheer reason of not constantly having to be mindful about the time constraint that you're on and being chucked in and out of characters. Again, I understand, that's the idea of Dream Drop Distance, and it also helps that perfect flow of going between Sora and Riku, keeping up with the story aspects on both sides. Like, of course, their story is unfolding at the same time, and you're generally in the same place when this is all happening. Naturally, though, one character will probably be more ahead than the other depending on the pace you want to go. I mean, it is up to you as to how far you want to progress in Dream Drop Distance with one character. Say you want to finish the first set of worlds as Sora, and then dive back into Riku, then go through the first set after Traverse Town. I mean, you can totally do that. I wouldn't recommend anyone playing their first experience of Dream Drop Distance without the drop gauge, because of course it is integral to the way that the game works, from from a story and gameplay aspect. But I can't recommend you guys enough to actually try this out because, yeah, it's very enjoyable. So the experience of playing through the sets of worlds in order, one after the other, as just one character and then dropping into the other character and then doing the same was really nice, not doing that whole back and forward thing. And what's pretty neat about this is because like pretty much everything you obtain in the game is shared between both Sora and Riku, aside from keyblades like of course abilities or commands and stuff. It meant that because I was progressing the most with Sora, everything I got in Sora's playthrough was then sent through to Riku's. So progressing from Traverse Town onwards into the first 3 worlds, I had all of these cool abilities like Combo Plus and like High Jump. Dark Barrier I had quite early. Now obviously through New Game Plus you can start the game with all of your Dream Eaters that you obtained in the previous save file, meaning that for some of the Dream Eaters they do unlock some neat abilities and commands pretty much straight off the bat. You can kind of have an experience of starting a fresh game with some really neat stuff, but this just sort of felt different, mixed in with the fact that I could progress through as many worlds as I possibly could without having to drop. Really felt like a different experience. You guys can see here that my Sora save is on level 21 in the 4th district, so this is after completing the first set of worlds, the first 3 worlds, and then my Riku save just afterwards is on level 4, so while my Sora was level 21, my Riku was level 4. It was quite funny to see. Now, it's not like you can go through the entirety of the game just playing as one character and then drop finally back into, let's say, Riku, and then you're right at the start of the game. There are literal points in the game where you have to drop to progress through. So like I just showed you guys before with my Sora being 21, Riku being 4, I couldn't progress any further with Sora. In order to unlock the second visit of Traverse Town, you need to finish the first 3 worlds as both characters. In order to unlock the world that never was, you need to finish Symphony of Sorcery as well as Country of Musketeers as both characters. Square Enix of course did think about this because yeah, the manual dropping does exist. Though the world that never was does get a little bit interesting, I decided to progress through as much of the world as I could as Riku and not even touch the world as Sora. After the final Ansem fight, Riku finds himself in the Memories Skyscraper area. This is the point in which Sora absolutely has to progress through the world that never was. If you try to progress any further, a cutscene triggers and Riku is thrown into a drop. Now the game kind of already expects Sora to be in the world that never was. However, when I got this cutscene, Sora was still on the world map. So as Sora, I then progress into the world that never was, and after that initial cutscene when Sora first arrives in the world, you're then forced back into Riku. The game got confused at this point, and because I was already at the Memory Skyscraper area, I then had to watch the exact same cutscene again of Riku being forced into sleep and back into the shoes of Sora. It was hilarious because the game doesn't really expect you to be on the world map as Sora and progress all the way through until the end of the world that never was with Riku, because generally speaking you shouldn't have that much time with the drop gauge. By then you would have already have dropped. So that was really the only one funky little kind of hilarious thing that I came across within using this mod throughout the game. Otherwise everything works. I didn't experience any odd bugs or crashes or anything like that. It really was a stress-free experience, aside from the quirks that Dream Drop Distance naturally has, like the busted revenge values and whatnot. It was quite nice. With seeing how well the game does work without the drop mechanic, I honestly do wish that once you finish the game for the first time with that New Game Plus mode that you can activate with being able to bring across, you know, your spirits and whatnot, I do wish that they added in the option to disable the drop gauge. Although there would be an issue with this, there are 2 worlds throughout the game that have this pink fog, and if you stand in the pink fog, your drop gauge will severely deplete. This is in Notre Dame as well as Country of Musketeers. I have to say though, it's quite satisfying finally being able to actually just stand in the pink fog and not have to worry or stress about destroying like the canisters that's emitting this stuff. And also seeing the screen effect that happens while you're standing in this, like everything in the background gets all warped, wacky, and weird, almost like the character is on drugs. Riku, man, these high potions are hitting differently, dude. This also means for any of the nightmare spirits that inflict a drop gauge depletion attack, it just simply won't work. I have to say, it looks a little bit cursed with the heads up display not having like an extra bar or gauge next to the health bar. Every Kingdom Hearts game, generally for the most part, has the health bar, but then other additional gauges. You know, whether it be the focus gauge, or the MP gauge, or drive gauge, etc. That HP bar is out here looking very lonely. However guys, I'll leave a link in the description down below to the mod. Instructions on how to install this mod are on the mod page, as it's a little different from installing mods for Kingdom Hearts 3. Hopefully you guys have enjoyed this video. I've been Cynical, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.